I'm Corbett Wall with DV Auction, here with your feeder flash for Thursday, January the 20th, brought to you in part by Norbrook. Norbrook strives to provide greater value in the generic products it provides veterinarians and producers, including making enhancements in formulation, packaging, and economical cost over Pioneer products. For more information, go to norbrook.com. Truckers protest, and it's not the protest that you're thinking about where they're too lazy to truck down here in the United States, or all the cow truckers have decided to pull a reefer or something like that because there's such a demand they can make more money to do it. But truckers are actually protesting up on the US-Canada border and on the Canadian side because Canada has enacted a mandate on the truckers. It's already gone into effect. It went into effect on Saturday, and a lot of them have been parked that normally came down into the United States and hauled goods back and forth every week, and now they've been parked. So it's going to get tougher. I tell you what, it's tougher for people down here to get goods up north of the border, and it's going to be tough to get some of those products down here. But as bad as we think it is here, they're just a little bit more liberal up in Canada. And Canada is such a great neighbor to us. I think everybody's kind of gotten over the thought of them being a threat to us, especially as far as their cattle production. They're our best customer. Going over time, they're our best customer buying our beef products. They bought a lot of cattle over the last 2 or 3 years. They've been short on their numbers, and they've been coming down, especially on the western side of the United States, and buying cattle weekly and taking them back up there, and we never see them again. I mean, it's fantastic. They've been great for us, and we hate to see them having trouble, but it's going to affect us too. But they had a protest there. A lot of trucks were kind of blocking traffic there at the Emerson port there on the border between North Dakota and Manitoba, and enough to cause enough disturbance that it got law enforcement involved there. But just ridiculous, and especially truckers. It's not like they're engaging with people all day every day. Most of them are sitting in the cabs of their truck working all day, and they might stop at a truck stop, but I mean, if people can kind of live through being in a truck stop all the time, it'd scare the hell out of COVID, especially if they have to use the public restrooms there, which they do. But these truckers are tough, and we found out that if you get the jab, you still get the COVID. If you don't get the jab, you get the COVID. If you get the jab, you still spread the COVID. If you don't get the jab, you spread the COVID. And 99 times out of 100, you get the COVID and it doesn't bother you, especially on this latest Omicron variant. But just absolutely ridiculous there. But they didn't get their vax mandate stopped like we did down here for big companies, and it's just going to be tough on them. But trucking is still a big problem. It's hurting your feeder cattle market. It has been for the last year or two, but it's really bad. We just don't have enough cow trucks to haul all these cattle away, and we're seeing these cattle again. And so we saw these cattle marketed earlier in the fall. We saw them go out, and then in a lot of cases not enough for them to eat on pasture or whatever winter forage that they had them turned down on, and now those cattle are moving again. So when we see the cattle on feed report at the end of next week, not this week but the end of next week, you better look for placements to be higher. Now, don't let that scare you and make you think that we've got bigger numbers than we do. Numbers are extremely tight, and they're much tighter than what's been advertised on our inventory reports or any place else. And it's gonna look kind of weird whenever we see these placements probably higher on our cattle on feed report that comes out late next week. But just kind of brace yourself for that. and I hope people kind of can absorb that whenever it comes. It doesn't hit the market a little bit, but feedlots are still seeing their margins grow. We saw a little bit more fat cattle trade this week. It's steady in the southern plains, steady to a buck lower in the northern plains. Most all the cattle bringing the same price. And packer margins are growing as box beef cutout values continue to increase every single day, and by pretty good gains too. I mean, in the week, as a week goes, they're just climbing by leaps and bounds. But you know, the feedlots, these feedlots are more current than the packers are armed to fill orders, order obligations, and opportunities. You know, they're the ones that are in a bind right now, not your feedlots. Yet, instead of them being short of product and being more aggressive, and being more aggressive on Saturdays and trying to do whatever they can to get more workers in there, you know, I realize that they're cut down a little bit because a lot of people are sick. It's that time of year. And so they're not as aggressive on their slaughter. But you know, a lot of those places could have a bigger Saturday than what they've been having. They could try a little bit harder. But you know, they're the ones that are in a bind, and they have turned this against the cattle end, telling them that, you know, we're not able to get your cattle processed. You know, it's not as bad the feedlot's problem as it is the packers' problem. They need to fix their problem. And they need to, you know, to get to working harder at it. But they're also using this same ploy on the box beef end, telling their customers, the beef customers, you guys don't have beef customers, you only have cattle customers, but telling their beef customers that they're not able to get the product processed, so they're not going to have as much of it. So this is a great thing for them. It has been ever since we first heard of the words COVID-19. It's been boom, big bust for the packers. I mean, they've just enjoyed every minute of it. You know, from making $2,500 a head whenever they weren't able to keep their plants fully open, to now continuing to increase their margins. They had a $600 per head margin, positive margin, the average of all of last year. Wouldn't that be fun? It's just been fantastic for them. But at some point, they're going to need to really increase these change speeds. And we're still short market-ready cattle. We're short of inventories coming down the line. We've got a bright future for a big market down the road here on our cattle. But guys have to be tough. You know, if the packer says, well, you know, we're not sure we can keep these plants open, that's your problem, not the feedlot's problem. They can keep feeding these cattle if they need to. Yeah, it's expensive to do it, but we're not bombarded as bad as we have been for the last year and a half with 1,800-pound cattle. We're fairly current around, and the numbers are down. But it's been so damn dry this fall and winter that we need empty pen space to put some of these cattle that had to come off the wheat that played out, and grass is really tight. Hay is tight in many regions, especially the northern plains. But let's talk about your board on Wednesday. February live cattle futures up 87 cents. Everything was big on commodities. Commodities were all higher on Wednesday. February live cattle up 87 cents at 138.55. April up $1.50, 143.35. I don't think this is the big recovery we're waiting on. It's just the bounce because things have been kind of tough here of late, and there was no reason for it. But you look on your back months, the live cattle are all up pretty big, from up 72 cents to up $1.40. January feeder cattle were down a nickel, but that's just because we're at the end of the contract month and they've got to back in there and get lined up with what your index values are, and they have been running consistently to a premium of that, and cattle just won't bring it. But 161.40 is getting pretty tight. How about March feeder cattle contracts up 20 cents at 165.62. All your out fronts on feeder cattle were higher, and some of them pretty good, from up 47 cents to up as much as 97 cents. Look at your grains, they were up big. March corn was up 11 cents. Now it's 6.10 and a half. You know that we were bordered right on $6 there earlier in the week, and now already jumped up to 6.10 and a half. Kansas City wheat was up another 27 and a quarter cent. Now sitting right at $8 a bushel. Beans up 30 cents on Wednesday's session at $13.91 and a quarter. But just all your commodities were up big on Wednesday. Fat cattle trade, the Northern Plains, it's steady to $1 lower. You know, we sold several cattle at 138 last week in the Northern Plains, not getting that at all. Just one price in the Northern Plains on live cattle, it's 137. We are seeing the 218 pretty consistently, and so that's your market there. But Iowa confirmed sales on Wednesday about 600 head, only 4,500 head for the week so far. Like I said, live sales 137, dress sales 217 to 218. Nebraska 3,500 head for Wednesday, almost 15,000 for the week. 137 live, 218 dressed. Kansas had some sales, 3,300 head, 9,700 head for the week. Live sales in Kansas 136 to almost entirely 137. That's $1 higher. The bulk of our trade last week in the Southern Plains was 136. This week it's all 137. Texas sold 1,600 on Wednesday, only 2,800 head for the week, all at 137. So you know that you got to take that as encouragement in the Southern Plains, being mostly $1 higher there. Box beef cutout values, I told you they're just higher every single day. On Wednesday's afternoon report come out up 211 on choice at 291.60. Selects up 204 at 280.43. Your slaughter is running at a decent clip, as much as we're hearing about they're not being able to increase it. Now, we had 117,000 estimated on Tuesday. That was the highest we'd had so far this year. Wednesday come in at 115. That's not terrible. We'd like for it to be right at 120 or maybe 122. But so far for the week, harvest on cattle is 345,000. That's 4,000 more than last week. Just 6,000 less than the same week a year ago. Talk about what else is going on. Headed out to Nevada again. Nevada Livestock Marketing having a big special late this week. They're going to be a 2-day sale, Friday and Saturday. More cattle than we can sell there on Friday. It don't start till noon, so those California buyers can get over the mountain, come over and get their seat. But going to be on dvauction.com both days. Somewhere between 6,000 and 8,000 head of feeder cattle in Fallon, Nevada, at Nevada Livestock Marketing. Going to be selling all day on Friday and Saturday until we get done. But going to have a lot of good strings of cattle in there. There'll be a lot of those lightweights that some of the Western buyers will be looking for. Going to have some backgrounded yearling type cattle, calf weight yearlings, that if some of you guys there in the mountain states or even in the central part of the United States would like to get, you can get on dvauction.com. You can view and bid that sale. Those cattle have had a lot of weather on them. They're going to be coming down out of altitudes where they've had a lot of snow, and those cattle are pretty much foolproof, guys. Talk about your feeder cattle market, middle of the week. Real-time index on DV Auction late in the day on Wednesday set at 159.56. Basically steady, but 10 cents higher than the end of Tuesday's activities. Talk about your big sales on Wednesday. OKC West, El Reno, Oklahoma, 9,800 head for their 2-day sale. Their feeder cattle on Wednesday, mostly steady to $2 higher. That's similar to what the city was on Monday. Their calves, Pee-wee steer calves, like under 500, under 4.5 for sure, $2 to $4 higher. Heavier steer calves steady. Heifer calves $4 to $6 higher. But man, did they sell some of these groups of big yearling feeders. I mean, they're back hot again all of a sudden. And El Reno had about the highest quote that I saw on heavy feeder cattle anywhere on Wednesday, 54 head 836-pound yearling feeder steers, all black. I talked to John Cooper there, but a load of them weighing 836 and $169. That's as high as they'll sell absolutely anywhere in the United States. And it happened right there at a big sale in El Reno, Oklahoma. How about Winter Livestock, Dodge City, Kansas? 4,000 head there, a good run for them. Feeders in Dodge City, steady to $3 higher. Calves near steady. The best sale that we had anywhere on Wednesday was in Torrington, Wyoming, Torrington Livestock Markets. Big sale, over 6,000 head of feeders. The market was higher on most all the groups. If you look at this automated market report, the federal state market report wasn't available late in the day on Wednesday, but these automated market reports, you can pull them an hour after the sale starts, and I'll show you everything that's sold so far on Cattle Market Central. But Torrington Livestock Market, you look at this automated market report, you see that the weighted averages were mostly higher than last week. Look at your best tested weights of steers, and you see how impressive the sale was in Torrington. 824 head of your 5-weight steer calves. This is all of them, guys. The smaller lots, the singles if they had any, but all of them. The 5-weight steers average 546 with a weighted average price of $204.60. Wow. 1,587 head of your 6-weight steer calves. This might be more impressive. Average 663, so well on the heavy side of your 6s, with a weighted average price on all your 6-weight steers of $184.67. Now that's higher than most places can sell a perfect load weighing 601. 945 head of your 7-weight steer calves at Torrington Livestock Markets. Average 736 with a weighted average price of $171.31. A couple individual quotes. How about one out of Sydney Livestock Market Center in Sydney, Montana? 116 head, 627 pound steers. They're going to have to mix them with something else. Can't haul that many of them off in one truck, and not enough for 2 trucks, but 627 pounds, 188.75. Wow. But the best quote that I saw anywhere on Wednesday in your National Beef Wire top quote for the day, indeed come out of Torrington Livestock Markets. 191 head, 521 pound steer calves bring $227.75. Big quote. That's your feeder flash for Thursday.